What's your favorite scary movie?
It's a Scream, baby!
Hello and welcome to another review here at Movie Mash. And today we're going to do a Scream ranking. Yeah, from the least favourite to my favourite. Now, before I carry on, hit that subscribe button right there and show us some love. Thanks. Now, before I carry on, I just want to say that in the Scream franchise, there isn't a bad movie. They're all solid and good. Some better than others, but none of them are bad. So even no matter what's in my number 6 to my number 3 it doesn't mean nothing. It just means my opinion. They're not bad. They're still all really enjoyable. When I'm watching these, I don't feel I need to miss one out, if you get what I mean. I don't need to go, oh God, yeah, you just watch them all. They're all solid. So I just watched the whole franchise recently, just up to Scream 6, and I hadn't seen 4 and 5. Now, I'll get into that why later on, but I hadn't seen them, and it just watched them recently, and I realized, you know what, it really is a solid franchise, and I just feel like I really want to do this. It's just a bit of fun. Now, for people who don't know, I have a Movie Mash group. It's Movie Mash on Facebook, where we all talk about movies and all that, and I get asked all the time, oh, which is your favorite, this and all that. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a video on it. So as I said, there isn't a bad movie in all 6 of them. So no matter what comes in at number 6, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just my least favorite of the 6. And coming in at number 6 is Scream 3. Now, Scream 3, again, isn't bad. It's just Scream 3 was the reason I hadn't seen 4 and 5. Because even though I still think it was alright and it was solid enough, it's just I felt like it was running out of steam. It didn't know where it was going. And they were just doing it for the sake of doing it, and I thought, oh, 4 and 5 is only going to be worse. Even though I know Scream has a big fan base and people love it in general, I just thought, nah, that was it. And as I said, going back and rewatching them recently, I really have changed my mind, and you might be surprised where everything else comes in this, but the reason why this is number 6 is because I find that it's just the weakest of all of them. And it nearly was number 5, but we'll get to that in a second. So let me tell you what I like about this. So I did like the whole character. I like all the characters. I like Sydney, and I like the location. I liked the idea of the stab movies, which I really enjoyed them bringing in, and the cast they used to play other characters. I thought that was all fun, mostly. As I said, I like Sydney coming back. Dewey, I like Dewey in all of them, to be honest with you. Now, I know people have problems with him. Me, I actually like him in all of them. Gail, I'm up and down with her. And even though I do think she's an okay character, and I enjoyed that she's in it, I prefer she's in it than not in it. It's just, on this one, it felt like, again, like it started to become repetitive, as you'll see as it goes on later on in the franchise. But what I will say is, it's just, they introduced other characters like Parker Posey, who played Gail's on-screen character, and I felt like her goofiness and her playfulness and the way they were trying to do it was funny, was a bit overkill, and it started getting annoying, and she was in it a lot. Then she started interacting with Gail, and then that kind of dynamic started getting real goofy and silly, and it was, I don't mind little bits of it, and it may have even been funny in parts, but it's just when it went on too long for me, that just started getting on my nerves. Now, as I said, Dewey, I like him in all of them. I think he's funny in parts. I just like him as a character in general, so he's solid in all of it, and he was just another part of this I like, so I have no bad negative to say about him. I know I said something about Gail, but I'm just saying I prefer her in it than not in it. It's just, it was a little bit overkill on this one for me. And what I was going to say is that just the end, the killer reveal and who it is and the reasoning behind it. I mean, like, look, if you don't know who it is, you probably shouldn't be watching this video anyway. But, alright, so it's like the director of the stab movies, who is her half-brother. It's like, oh my God, now you're stretching, you're reaching now. You've run out of ideas. And it's not the fact that he was just a single killer that we're all expecting to, or whatever. Yeah, it's just that I found him to be a forgettable character and not really special in general. He didn't stand out in the movie at all. Now, is it the actor's fault? I don't know. Is it the writing? Maybe, who knows? But I'm just saying is, the reveal, not only was he just a forgettable character, his reasoning behind it, and it felt like they were reaching and reaching and reaching, and It felt like the film, the franchise at this point had run out of steam, that they done 1 and 2, and now they don't know what to do next. It's just like, yeah, here's the money train, just throw it in. Now there was some good ideas, like the stab idea and all that, it was good. This is still a solid movie. It's my least favorite of all of them.
It's your turn to scream, asshole.
Now coming in at number 5 is Scream 6. Now there's a lot of fun to be had with this film, and it nearly came in at 6, and 3 nearly came in at 5. But there's just a few more elements in this movie that I like that pushed it up a level from Scream 3, or at number 6. So I'm getting confused myself with all the different numbers. But yeah, so there's a lot to like about this movie. As I said, you can check out my review if you want to see more in depth about what I like and what I didn't like. So let me just tell you what I liked. So first of all, the setting in New York was a big change, a big difference, and you really felt it was New York, but it still felt like it was in the Scream franchise. It didn't feel like a complete different other film, and it was off the track. It just still felt like it was Scream, but the New York setting, the big city, the big wide opening, that was great. Okay, so a lot of the cast came back from Scream 5, and I like the chemistry between them all. We have Jenna Ortega, we have as the girl Sam, who plays Loomis's daughter, and we have Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son, who he's on it. I thought he's pretty good. Who played with the other girl, who his sister. I think they're Randy's nephews and niece, who I think they were pretty decent. A little bit annoying at times, but I overall quite like him. But it was just good to see them all back together again. Now, another thing I really liked, the beginning really threw me off, right? It threw me, and this is where this could be one of the best, could be really good, this movie. And don't get me wrong, it was. But what I'm saying is, at the start, obviously, again, if spoilers, so the reveal of the murderer is pretty soon in, and I was a bit shocked, and then you hear him on the phone, and I thought, no, we're going to have a silent partner here. And through the rest of the movie, we're going to be guessing who he's in cahoots with and who he's interacting with. But unfortunately, and you know what, it is what it is, they kind of didn't go with that. They just killed him off, and then it went on from there. But I will say, the opening and the idea of what was going on, I really enjoyed it. I didn't expect that, and I thought that was a solid beginning. Now, as we all know, Neve Campbell wasn't in this one. And was she noticed? No. I mean, look, Neve Campbell would have been good in it. I'm just saying I didn't notice it that much that she wasn't in it. And let's face it, look, like all good final girls, they're not in all of them. Look at Jamie Lee Curtis, she's not in all the front Halloween, and Heather Langenkamp, she isn't in all the Nightmares. So look, she's allowed to take a break, and for whatever reason, pay or all that. It's not, I don't know, I'm not getting into it. I'm just saying it didn't make that much of a difference that she wasn't in this one. So it wasn't a big deal. Now, more that I like about this movie was, there is some really good tense moments in this film. Like the scene with the ladder when they're going from building to building. I thought that was a really solid, there was quite a lot of tension going on. It was done really well. Obviously, everyone knows, and I think it's on the trailer, that the train scene in the New York Underground or railway, that was really well shot, well kind of tension. It was just well lit. It just was a really good scene, and I have to say it was probably one of the standout parts of the whole movie. And there was a lot to enjoy with that. Another thing I really liked on this movie was how aggressive Ghostface seemed compared to the rest of the movies. Obviously he's aggressive in all of them, but there was something more maniacal and more kind of like, I don't know. He seemed like he was just on it. He was really, really aggressive on this, and he used shotguns. I think a gun was used before in one of the other. I think Loomis's mum used a gun at one point or something like that. So yeah, it's not the first to use a gun. It's just it felt different. He felt more aggressive, and I really enjoyed the way he was on this until the reveal. Now, Gail Courtney Cox is back on this, playing the same character again. Now, she has done this now 6 times in a row. And again, I prefer that she's in it than not in it mostly. But what I was going to say is that it just feels like each film, her story arc is the same. So we don't like her. She ends up helping, ends up saving the day with the main character. And then by the second one, or the next one after, she's written a book and she's put everyone down and she said stuff that she don't like, and in the beginning of the next one they hate her again, they're all trying to hit her or someone's trying to slap her or something like that. And it's the same in each one. She comes in, she helps, nobody likes her, towards the end she helps out, she's all redeemed, and the next movie she's done another book, and it's just all right. Maybe people just like that and they love her for this reason, and that's why she's in. And again, I prefer she's in it than not in it. It's just at this point at 6, I was like, enough now, come on, change it up a little bit, do something, keep her good, keep us fighting the good fight all the time, not another book and out for herself. A thing that really put me off this film, which you get a touch of it in 5, but this one it goes a bit too much, is Billy Loomis's Obi-Wan Kenobi ghost coming back to his daughter Sam. I think her name is Sam, so correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong, but he keeps coming back, and it's like now he's like an anti-hero. It's like, well, alright, you're an anti-hero now. It's like, you know, the Obi-Wan Kenobi, it just feels out of place in this franchise. Like, we're in 6 now, and now you're introducing this, either she's mentally ill, which we don't know, or it's a phantom, it's supernatural. One way or the other, it just for me doesn't feel. Maybe, I don't know, if you had some tapes or recordings or something from, I don't know, maybe just not at all. I just feel like it don't feel right in this franchise at all, and I didn't like it, and it kind of made me throw my eyes up a few times. Now, the reveal. There's a pattern in all these movies, and I will bring it up again throughout the next few, but the pattern is, right, is I noticed the pattern, right? So the reveal of this was, I got pretty much what was going on before it happened, and that's fine. But the reveal, just because you know who it could be, still, if you give the reasons and the motives like a solid reason, then it's all worth it, even if you've got it. But this was just like, oh my god. So they're crazy, the dad's crazy, and the brother, and they fake their own sister or daughter's death just to throw these kids off. I mean, really? I mean, you're a police officer, couldn't you just like plant stuff on them and just have them done and put them through worse hell than what you're doing? But you're actually having your daughter faked death, and it was just, and they're all like, you noticed about the Scream franchise, when apart from, I think, Loomis, all the killers, they seem to be normal-ish throughout the thing, and then they're all unhinged. It's like, wow, why all of a sudden you're all unhinged, all heavy breathing and all frothing from the mouth and all. It's like, wow. But the thing is about this reveal, I just thought the reasons were dumb, and what they done was dumb, and I felt like there could have been a better way to do it, and then it dragged on for it felt like the whole thing was cartoonish towards the end, and I was zoning out. Now, what I was saying about the pattern is, it's just my opinion. I've noticed that, I think if you think about it, and I didn't realize at the time, but if you go back as far as part 2, one of the main killers will always, apart from 3 maybe actually, but one of the main killers will always be a minor celebrity. Now, if you go back to part 2, Loomis's mum, I don't know her name. I know she was on the Big Bang Theory, but I know she was previously famous for being Roseanne, the TV show, her sister. Now, I know she wasn't a megastar, but she seemed to be more known than others, and to have just a small role to be, look, it's possible, but if you think back, and then if you look at part 4, when you have Macaulay Culkin's young brother, I've forgotten his name, Culkin, again, not a massive celebrity, has a name, small part. I thought, nah, you're not just in this because for the sake of it, you're a bigger star than the part you've got. And then, yeah, all right. And then again with, is it on this one was Dermot Mahoney? I've forgotten his name. I know him from Young Guns and other things back in the day. I just thought, like, no, you're a cop, but no, again, you're a bit of a minor celebrity compared to a lot of the other cast. Again, with part 5 with the boy from The Boys, I've forgotten his name, but I know he's Dennis Quaid's son. But as I say, like, again, minor celebrity, big reveal. It just seemed to be a pattern there, and I don't know, is it just me or is it coincidence? It just seems to be that way. But you know what? Doesn't mean shit. Regardless of all the bad things, the good things were still really good, and it's still a solid movie. It's still enjoyable. It's still a lot of fun to be had with this movie. It's just not as good as the others I have on my list, and I do recommend it, and I do reckon you should watch it, but it is number 5.
That's why I'm gonna shoot you in the head.
Coming in at number 4 is Scream 5. Now, Scream 5 is a fan favourite. Apparently, according to the Scream fans out there, this is one of the most favourite and beloved parts of the franchise. And after watching it recently, I understand why. It is actually a really solid film. Now, what I will say is that the cast is really good. I'm not going to go on into too much detail, but if you want me to do other reviews or solid single reviews, let me know in the comments below and I'll do a solid single review of each one. But this one, I'm just giving a summary. Okay, so look, on this one, as much as I did like it, I liked the cast. I think the cast was good, the dynamic and the chemistry was good, which went on into number 6. I thought it was all good. I was like, Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox seemed to come in right towards the end of the movie, or the third act, or the end of the second act, which it felt like at this point you don't even need them in. I still think that, look, I prefer that they're in it, they're not in it. It's just, it felt like the film could have been just as good if they weren't there, but it didn't matter. I'm glad they were there. Now, another thing I liked about this is, I mean, look, they're all the Scream franchise does not have the best kills. It's all stab, stab, stab. There's nothing like over the top or inventive on these movies in that sense. It's just stab, stab, stab. But I will say that this does have one of the best kills, one of the best, not my favorite, but one of them in the whole franchise, with that when she stuck that thing in the throat. That was pretty gruesome by the door. So yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Wasn't expecting that, and I've never seen that but one other time in the Scream franchise, I think. But as I said, is what I didn't like about this movie. Well, alright, look, I didn't hate it. It's just there was something I was upset about. Now, as I said on this video, Dewey, I liked his character for the whole thing. And the beginning of this, he's kind of a broken character. Like, he's been through a lot. I mean, look, we're in part 5 now, and he's done this for a few times. He's been through a lot. He's lost his wife, he's lost his job, he's alone, and he's drinking a lot. And it's sad to see him, a character as innocent and as nice as he was through the whole thing, and everything he's been through, and all the people he saved, and it was just for me that. But what really bothered me is that I was hoping towards the end we would get like him not redeeming himself, because we already find him like we like him, don't need to redeem himself, but finding more peace in his life, or being happier towards the end, because it just felt like a dull ending to a really nice character. And when he was killed, I felt like we didn't get that. It felt like the ending to his character was really sad and depressing. And even though I don't mind the fact that you killed him off for shock factor, and I understand, I'd like to have seen him kind of come back out of it. It just didn't feel like he'd got out of this little slump he was in, and I was a bit disappointed with that. And I just felt like Dewey's story arc ended up really sad and depressing. Even though he died, it wasn't the death, it was just the lead up to the death with the drinking and the lost his job that he loved and his wife. I thought I didn't like that. Now, things I didn't like was, right, so even though some of the chemistry of some of the characters I liked, some of the other characters I forgot were there, and leads me up into the final reveal where, right, so I kind of knew it was Sam's boyfriend, because look, apart from I said about the pattern and the minor celebrity thing, it wasn't just that. It was like every time he pointed that it could be someone, he was the only one it was never pointing at, and it was, oh no, like it's nearly obvious that it was him. It was just like, it was every time he pointed the finger at everyone, he was the only one that never got the finger pointed and always felt like he was scared, or you know, too nice. And I was like, yeah, it's got to be him. Apart from the pattern, I already said it's got to be him. But the other girl, that was with him. Oh, sorry. And the reasons for killing everyone was just like, I want to be famous. I'm unhinged again. Like, you were nice and normal through the whole thing, and now you're unhinged, because that's what Scream franchise do. He turns you unhinged as soon as you reveal. But the girl, I can't remember her name, but the girl who was also partnered up with him, I literally forgot she was in the movie. I mean, like, yeah, I remembered her, but I was like, oh yeah, her. It was just like a real throwaway character. If she had done something more significant in the movie to remember her, might have made a difference to me. But again, I've forgotten who she was. I didn't care. You might as well have just kept it as him. Now, again, still really enjoyable movie. More than the other two for me. I understand why it's a fan favorite, and this is why it's still number 4. And again, no bad movies in this franchise.
I still prefer the Babadook.
Okay, coming in at number 3 is Scream 4. Now look, I swear, Scream 4 nearly came in at number 2. Yeah, alright, so part 3 left a bad taste in my mouth. Now again, it wasn't bad, it's just I felt like it run out of steam, and there's nowhere it's going to get better than this. Well, as I said, I rewatched 4 and 5 for the first, well, not rewatched, watched 4 and 5 for the first time recently, and I had so much fun with part 4. I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed it, to the point where it nearly came in at number 2. I mean, nearly. I will say that after 3, I couldn't think of a way this could get better, revamped, more enjoyable, just repetitive. But no, they seem to have done a really good job, and I have reasons for that, and let's just jump into that. So I really enjoyed the characters in this movie. For one thing about the Scream franchise, they seem to get good chemistry and good characters, and enjoyable mostly, apart from the few side ones. But the main characters, they all seem to be pretty decent. Now, the hot blonde girl, I think her name was Kirby, I really liked her on this, apart from about being hot and all that. It's just that she had this knowledge of movie trivia which would rival anyone else. And the thing is that it just seemed unlikely that she would, but she made it believable that she was. So I actually believed that she did. So yeah, she was one of the standout. Obviously, Neve Campbell was great. Is it Emma Roberts? She played a good job. Now, there's something I wanted to say, is because this is 2011. And they're using the cams to do their kind of blog and video blogs, which was well introduced into the movie, because this is what was happening back then. We're in a new era of movies and time, and that was going on all the time. People going, now it's even worse today, but back then. So yeah, I enjoyed that. So I didn't get one of the killers at the end, and I nearly kicked myself for it, because it was so obvious now that I look back on it, and I normally would have picked up on it, but I didn't. And I think that's down to how well the movie was, and made me not think about what else was going on while I was enjoying what I was watching. So I give you an example, right? So the pattern, I knew it was Culkin. I had a feeling it was Culkin because of who he was. But Emma Roberts? I didn't think it was her, because she played so good through the whole thing, but she disappeared for a good portion of the movie towards the end, and that's just a big sign that, yeah, she's a killer or something like that. She just went out to get something out of the car. I don't know, was it keys or a phone or something, and she was gone for ages. And you could say she did, but it wouldn't have been an off-screen kill. And I didn't pay attention to that, which I normally do, because I was enjoying what was going on so much with everything else. I wasn't concentrating on that, and I kicked myself in a good way, because as much as I like being right, it's nice being caught off guard and wrong. It was the surprise. So as much as I did know it was Culkin, I didn't see that coming, and I was like, damn. Now, the only nitpick I have about this movie, because it was all fun for it, and it's just a nitpick. It's just after the reveal of Emma Roberts, Sydney's niece, I felt like it went on a little bit too long then. We know who the reveal, went off to the hospital, went on and on and on for a bit longer, and I feel like it could have ended a bit sooner. But it's only a nitpick. It's not a big negative. It's just a little thing. I still think this was a really, I tell you what, this just made me excited for 5. I couldn't wait to stick on 5 straight away after this. And after 3, I just didn't think that would happen. And this is why number 4 is at number 3, close to being number 2.
Clear.
So coming in at number 2 is Scream 2. Alright, so look, as I said, this nearly came in at 3, and I do really like this. It's just I like 4. There's just a few other things on this that I liked a bit more than part 4. That's all. I saw this back in the day in the cinema when I was pretty young, and I remember really enjoying that. It's a solid second one. Now, so what I really like about this film, one of the main things that they use in part 1 as well, but they use the sequel in this, is the sequel tropes. So all the more blood and the more this and the more that, and I was like, I like the way that with is it Randy, he's the way he used it, and he was the go-to person to explain how a sequel will work, and the killer was following sequel stuff on this, and I thought it was really cleverly written. And for a sequel to be not as good as the first, but for a sequel to have all these tropes and all that, I thought it was really well done. Now, I remember as a kid, I was young, I didn't see the killers. Maybe if I was older and a bit more wiser as I am now, I might have seen who it was, but I didn't, so I was taken off guard. The reasoning, alright, it's Loomis's mum, and Oliphant was just wanted to be famous or something, but it's just, I didn't see the kill. But as I said, the reveal, I had a feeling it would be 2 people like the first one. I didn't see that, and I really enjoyed it. Now, there's not a lot more I can say that hasn't been said completely about these movies, but all I'm going to say is just my thoughts about it. And what I'll say about Sydney's character, I like Sydney's character a lot on this, because, alright, so she was still vulnerable like she was in the first one, but she was a bit tougher after what she had been through, and she was just not like, she wasn't trusting, which is understandable, but she was definitely tougher. I did like that about her. Now, the mixed bag is, you have is it Jamie Kennedy who's playing Randy. I liked how he died on this. I thought his death was pretty good, but I feel like he died too early in the franchise. As I say, like, because of the kind of franchise it is, based on movies and tropes and all that, he was the go-to guy. So if you want, and I really feel like, and I feel the franchise thought that too afterwards, because they kind of made videos and then they gave him the nephews and the nieces and all that. I feel like even the franchise thought, ooh, we shouldn't have killed him too soon, you know. But again, I like that. I'm just a bit disappointed he died, but it's still a good death. So one more thing that I like, and you have a big cast in this. You have Jerry O'Connell, you've got Sarah Michelle Gellar, you have Timothy Olyphant. So there was quite a lot of big celebrity who were big at that time and most famous around that time that in this. And it was like, who did it again? And I liked that I was going through that again without actually going, no, it's him, and sticking with that through the whole thing. Every few minutes I was changing my mind. And it was good. So this is why it comes in at number 2. Now, I will say that the kills aren't as good on this as they are in the other franchises. They're a bit okay. You know, they're okay. But I still think this is my number 2. Well, not think, it is. It is my number 2, and it's staying my number 2, and it's definitely a classic.
Getting one thing about Billy Loomis.
What's that?
I fucking killed him.
So, coming in at number 1, and yes, if you made it this far and you haven't guessed it already, it's Scream 1, or Scream the original. Now, there was no other movie like this, and apart from Scream 2, 3, 4, and 5, there probably is no other movie like this. Sure, I know what we did last summer was a similar era, but to use the tropes very cleverly and how it was done, to this day, there's still no other movie that kind of captured that. And Wes Craven, like, you know, he just really did a good job. Now, this film kept me, as when it first came out, I was young. This film kept me guessing through the whole goddamn thing, and I could not figure out who it was. And I'm sure I'm not alone on this back then, especially back then, because, like, I mean, for it to be 2 killers, to be 2 murderers working together like the way they were, I mean, maybe it had been done before. I hadn't seen anything like that, especially I haven't seen any horrors the way it was 2 people doing it at the same time. Now, one thing I liked about Loomis that you don't see on the rest of the movies, he wasn't, even though he was crazy, obviously, He just didn't, at the end when the reveal, he wasn't unhinged like the rest of them. Like, I think Matthew Lillard, he was kind of unhinged through the whole thing anyway. But it was just, I feel like every killer, when they're revealed, all of a sudden they go, you know, it's like, what the fuck? But he was the only one who was, no, this is my plan. Do you like what I did? Do you see how I did it? This is why I did it. And yeah, it was extreme, and the reasons why I did it was extreme, but it was still good. Now I have to say, even though Scream franchise isn't my favorite horror franchise, but I will say that Scream 1 is probably one of the best horror movies ever made. Now it's not the best, but it's one of the best because of the way it was done, the originality of it, the characters, all the tropes, all these things that were used in this movie was like nothing we'd ever seen before. And the killer reveal, it was just a great movie. It's an absolute classic, and as I watched it recently, sure, it's a big 90s movie, but it still holds up. This film is an absolute classic, and that's why it is in my number 1. And just one more thing, for anyone know, we also got the birth of one of the greatest final girls in any horror franchise. She can rival any of them, and I'm going to check that and do a ranking on final girls soon at some point. But she is definitely up there, and this was the birth of that. And Sydney or Neve Campbell is one of the best, if not the best, we'll see, final girls ever. Now, what I was going to say is, I didn't realise this until watching it recently, that Wes Craven, he had directed 1, 2, 3 and 4. I thought he had done 1, possibly 2. I didn't know he had done 3 and 4. And as I said, 4 is really one of my favourites of them all. And it was just sad that that part 4 was his last film, and he was just a classic. He was a great director, obviously, with Nightmare on Elm Street that we all know, and Hills of Eyes, which you like it or you don't. It was a shame, but yeah, he brought this to life. This is a great franchise. If you're still watching, and if you haven't seen any of these movies, go and watch them. And if you have seen them, go and watch them again. That's how good they are, because they won't be the last time I ever watch this franchise as a whole. Now, I have a question for you guys. Right, so there's a Scream TV series that I have never seen. I just know there's one that exists. I don't know how many seasons, how many episodes. I don't know anything. I don't know what it has to do with this franchise. I don't know if it's the same people, nothing. Let me know, is it worth me watching? Should I give it a try? And if so, let me know in the comments below. Also, do you agree with my list? Do you have the same list? Do you think number 1 should be number 1? Or do you have it how completely different? Again, let me know in the comments below. And if you do want me to review or do a ranking or a review of the TV show, let me know that in the comments below too. Alright? But like and subscribe as normal. But for now, and until next time.
What's your favorite scary movie? Have you ever seen Stab? It's a girl at home, alone. She answers a wrong number and starts talking with the killer, who makes her play a game. Would you like to play a game? I told you, this isn't Amber. I want to play a game. Stab movie trivia.